Hi, I'm Shelley Maurer,
And I'm Cher Emmerich. Welcome to Life Lessons from Pickleball,
where we engage with pickleball players from around the world about life on and off the court.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome, everyone, to Life Lessons from Pickleball. We just love that you join us each Tuesday like this. And thank you so much for everybody who has been liking and sharing and subscribing to our podcast. We just love it. And we know you're loving our guests. And today will be no different. We are excited to have with us pro pickleball player Coco Lococo. What a cool name that is. Coco, you turned pro in 2022 and have played 3 seasons with MLP Australia's Melbourne Mavericks.
In 2024, you made history as the first female pro coach for both MLP Australia's Melbourne Mavericks and WPBL India's Dilly team.
And now, in 2025, you're coaching not one, but 2 MLP Australia teams, the Western Vipers and the Asia Sea Surge. Wow, my gosh, girl. But before we dive into pickleball, let's rewind a bit. You started playing and coaching tennis at a very young age, and I mean a very young age, so tell us about that.
First off, thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. I did start playing tennis very young. We were unfortunately not a wealthy family, so we were pretty poor. And I started playing tennis before I could walk, and it was through the donations of everyone around us that gave me a racket and gave me shoes and put me on a court. And then at age 10, I was quite good, so I was winning tournaments by I think the age of 6. And then by about 10, they decided that I should pay back a little, so I started coaching quite young, and I remember looking up at the adults and helping them very young. So that was a long time ago, but it's it kicked off my passion for even then loving to help people and coach them.
How do you explain being able to play so well so young? And now when you say before you could walk, you're kind of teasing about that, or they literally put a racket in your hand before you were walking?
Yeah, so my dad was state 1 squash player. So he decided in his wisdom, and probably rightly so, that there was no money coming into squash. He thought that the sport, unfortunately, as much as he loved it, was dying. So he used to keep me amused and the only way to keep me amused was to put a ball or a racket in my hand. So I used to have a racquetball racket with a tennis ball on the squash court and hit up against roll it against the wall before I could walk. So once I had a racket, once I could stand and had a racket, the rest was pretty much history.
And love at first hit, or what? I mean, you were instantly loving it as a little one?
Yeah, I think that the only way to, dolls and toys and things didn't pacify me, but a ball did. So if you put a ball in my hand, didn't matter whether we play AFL over here, or in Vic when we did where I grew up. But you could put any ball in my hand and that would keep me amused. And tennis racket, no different. Any cricket bat or anything would definitely keep me calm. And that's all I do, outdoors all day.
So then how did your tennis journey continue?
So I got up through the ranks, played state grade, which is like the highest that you can play in Australia before the satellite tournaments. So I got lots of scholarships, which was really good. Obviously not as big as the American scholarships. I was offered one over there, but my father unfortunately wouldn't let me go. But so I progressed up and was on my way. And then at 19, unfortunately, did a really serious injury, and that forced me out of the game altogether. So that was it until I discovered pickleball.
Serious injury. Is there a story around that?
Yeah, I was on court coming into play the qualies of the Australian Open, and my coach, we both missed a ball that usually we would all see, and I was doing some smashes, and as I landed, I tore everything in my left ankle. So that was me on crutches for 6 months. There was no way back from that. So, yeah, it was pretty devastating at the time. But again, as I mentioned, I love coaching. So I had a bit of a break and then just went straight back into that but professionally, that was it for me.
Didn't you have an academy?
I did. So I had a business for 25 years, tennis. It was all tennis, and it was up in Queensland. So I started that in 2000 and then have run it all the way through. But in 2022, when I discovered pickleball, I never thought I'd love something equal or more than tennis. And I was addicted first go.
So when you had the academy, were you still playing recreationally? I mean, you weren't the pro anymore, but it's
No, not too much. I mean, a little bit, but not. I think the enjoyment of playing. I think when you start coaching, you get a bit of coach's feet, and you're just a bit slower. And I enjoyed hitting, but not so much playing. I played a little bit, and when I did, I loved it. But I think what I loved about the transition over to pickleball is that it was almost learning the same thing but different.
Yep.
And it's just a tweak on it that's enough that, like, on a tennis court to hit me is difficult. On a pickleball court, it's quite easy. Like, initially when I first started. So, like, I was like, people are hitting me with the ball. Like, I'm not, what's going on? This is great. I love this. So that's,
I love being hit with the ball.
well,
Makes you
it's
feel
quite
alive.
fascinating to me because that doesn't happen generally. So obviously it was me putting it in the wrong spot initially because I had no idea. But yeah, it was, I don't know, it just drew me straight away. It's like, I love that.
How did you actually learn about pickleball? How were you introduced?
So my good friend from Melbourne, so obviously, as I said, I'd moved to Queensland, called me up one day and said, there's this game called Pickleball in 2022. And she's like, you should go try it. And I went, what? Who would name a sport that? Like, I had no idea. I had no idea that it was so big in the US. I'd never heard of it. And I'm like, that won't be a thing in Queensland. Like, please. Anyway, she's like, Google it. So I did. And it turns out some of the best, well, at that point, the best players in Australia were in Queensland.
And you had
Yeah.
not even known it existed. That is
No, and
hilarious.
so I went to a come and try and I think they had me on court for 3 minutes and went, no, get off. And I went, I don't know how to score. Like, someone teach me. And they said, no. I thought the scoring was really weird as well at that point.
It is weird.
I was like, what? So then they said, you need to go to an advanced class. Like, you need to go to that. And I said, okay. But they said, whatever you do, don't tell them that you're a beginner. And I said, okay. So I rocked up at this advanced pickleball session, and the lady there, who we get along really well with now, asked me lots of questions, and I'm not a liar. So I said, I'm a beginner. And with that, I got a bit of a lecture for 5 minutes about how I should, there's limited court space in Brisbane. And I said, look, just give me a go. Like, I don't even know how to score. So just help me. And if not, I'll sit and I'll watch you guys. It's no problem. So it was no issue. Ended up having a great time there, and they invited me back the following week. So
I believe that.
it was all good. And then 2 weeks after that, finally I got invited to the pros, and they tagged me at least 12 times. It was great. I had a great time.
Tagged meaning
2 weeks.
tattooed by the ball.
Yeah, they definitely. I was just like surprised that they could hit me. Maybe my arrogance, but I was like, wow, like, am I not quick enough? What am I doing wrong? And so I'm trying to process, because I'm still trying to learn how to score 2 weeks in. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, how do I stop that from happening? Like, obviously I'm doing something. So what is it that I've got to stop? And so it was such a good learning curve initially for me, going, all right, I need to drop the ball. I need to do this, and I can't just come in and follow it. It was fascinating for me to learn straight away.
Did you sell your academy before or after you were introduced to pickleball?
After.
After. So you said, okay, I'm done. I'm all in with pickleball.
Yeah, I'm someone that, like, there's not many things I do well in this world, but one is coach. And I decided that the passion for me, because it sort of shifted, as I said, to pickleball, not that I lost the passion for tennis, but I just thought I wasn't giving as much as I could give on court for tennis. And although the clients assure me that that's not the case, I just felt that that's where my heart now lies, and that's now where I want to go. So they were all very good, and they all beg me every day to come back. But it's occasionally I'll step on court with them, but not often.
No, I'm still just kind of stunned. So you picked up pickleball in 2022, and then you became a pro in 2022. So
Someone saw me play, and then they called up the head of Pickleball Australia, who's Jen Ramamurthy, and she is the chair of the Australian pickleball scene here in Australia. And she arrived, but she wasn't in pickleball gear, so I had no idea who she was. And they're like, "Oh, meet Jen," and I'm like, "Hi." She's like, "Hi." Who are you? And so we actually didn't have much of a chat until the following week, when she's like, "Would you like a hit? And I can show you." And I said, "Yeah, that'd be fantastic." And then she was great. She taught me all the little finer points and the things that, as a tennis player, I didn't know. Obviously, I thought drives down the line were a great idea when you're off your back foot, instead of middle ball, and the safety and all that. So she taught me a lot. And then lucky enough that I managed to be able to turn pro later that year. Great.
That is not a typical story, is it, Shelley?
Yeah, no.
I'm sure if I was in America, it might be slightly different though. So, I think that the scene in Australia is growing now exponentially, but we're still in its infancy. We're only, 5 or 6 years in. It hasn't been running for decades like the US. So I'm sure, it sort of stands out here, but over there, that process wouldn't have happened, I'm sure.
Have you done any
50 now,
tournaments?
so, yeah.
Have you done any tournaments here?
Not yet. I haven't been over to America. I was actually talking to Wes Gabrielson this morning saying, "Mate, when are we coming over? What are we up to?" So
Nice.
I will definitely come over. It will be wonderful.
So you went pro in
Yes.
2022, and then all of a sudden you're coaching pro teams. What the heck?
So that's Wes Gabrielson's fault. So
We'll blame him.
we're going to blame him for that one. When I met Wes, that lovely human, he played the first season of the MLP. I think it was 2022 he played, or 23 he played. But anyway, I met him, and I didn't know, being so new to pickleball, I had no idea that there was this whole thing. I didn't know that there was anything really. And so when I spoke to him, we just had a chit chat. I had no idea who he was, but we just got along really well. And he was like, "Oh, I wouldn't mind doing some clinics with you." And I said, "Oh, do you coach?" He's like, "Oh, a little," so modest. Anyway, I had no idea. And then I went back to the other pros, and they're like, "What are you talking to Wes about?" And I went, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Don't you know who he is?" I'm like, "Mm-mm." They said, he's like former US one, and he's like Pickleball Hall of Fame. And I'm like, "There's a Pickleball Hall of Fame?" So dumb, Coco. And so I went, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, he's one of the best coaches in the world." I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Wes?" So I've gone back out there and said, "Mate." He's like, "What?" He helped me a lot. So in terms of transitioning, I never want to offer my services if I feel like I'm not able to enhance or help. I don't want to ever give the wrong information. And I felt like I was not ready. And then the more time Wes and I just hung around together, and the more time I spent with him, he kept saying to me, no, you're more than ready. Goodness me, have a look. And I'd be like, "No, I'm not ready, Wes." He's like, "You are ready." And so his mentoring of that sort of side of things, of me saying, "Well, I think this, what do you think, Wes?" And he's like, "Yeah, spot on." He just helped me understand that I do know the game now, a couple of years on, and hence why then I agreed to coach some of the pro teams
as the first female pro.
Yeah,
coach.
yeah,
That's
amazing.
very cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of coaching is transferable. I mean, obviously the decades of tennis, and I've been doing it literally for, 4 decades. Yeah, a lot of it is transferable. It's just some things that aren't, and you've got to adjust. But yeah, I think now I feel like, yes, I do have that to offer and I can offer that. And yeah, so now here I am.
Is
What do you
so
think the biggest adjustments are for a tennis player
yeah.
coming into pickleball?
So in doubles, I think singles is very similar. So I think this single strategy is very similar to tennis. The double strategy is so weird in the fact for from a tennis player's perspective to know that safety is right there in the middle of the court, just between the net and the kitchen. If you do that in tennis, you're wearing the ball.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not a safe place to hit a drop shot or anything like that. So I think your patterns are different for doubles. The way that you set up for your partner is different. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. And also learning that there's no outright winners as such in pickleball. Like, you've really got to play the ball. Yeah. So a little bit different. And I think mentally as well, like, I think technically tennis can be a bit harder, skill wise, whereas pickleball, everyone can be good with their own technique at pickleball. So then it comes down to mental, which we don't all have all the time, at different levels. So I think it becomes a lot more of a mental game.
How did you become a coach for a team in India?
I got approached. So they'd heard about me. I'm not sure how. I got a message through my Instagram and thought it was spam. And then they reached out again, and I thought, oh, this isn't a joke. Sure. Because at that point, again, I hadn't really heard of the WPBL, but
Which stands for?
The World Pickleball League.
Nice.
So they were brilliant. I mean, I went over there. You got to coach one of the teams. There was six in the team. So world coaches. The coaches were brilliant, and the teams were amazing. The atmosphere. What I love about the WPBL is their commitment and passion to the sport and to the players, which I don't know if you see so often anymore, but they really wanted to make the experience great for everyone, not just to make money and not just to, I'm sure they did that as well, but their player experience was phenomenal.
For instance?
They took the time. So if a player came up and said, I have this problem, they'd be like, oh, let me help you. And within 30 minutes, that problem, whatever it is sorted, or there's a resolution, or, I'd really like to go and train. Yes, sure, let us help you, let us change things around and let us help you as much as we can. So they were very diligent with food, things like food and recovery and all that for the players, which they didn't have to do.
Yeah.
But you could see how much they want you to enjoy your experience, not just play for them, So that, I think that's what the biggest difference was for me. I think the community feel of the whole group, and everyone got along. So and they'd come from all different walks of the world, really.
Isn't that cool?
Brilliant. Yeah.
I was raised in India, and Shelley spent a whole year there practically. So, I mean, we just have a heart for the hospitality of that culture. Is just so loving and warm. Yeah. Glad that it carried over.
For season 2 then.
Yeah.
The stadium's great. Like, it's insane. It's probably one of the best atmospheres I've ever been to. I haven't been to the US, so we'll back off on that, but
what cities did you play in India? Was it just the one city?
We were only in Mumbai.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we played though at the ICC cricket ground, which they've never allowed another sport to be on that ground other than cricket. So it was. We had thousands of people there, and it was just their format. So their format was normal scoring but timed, which adds a whole new element to how to play pickleball.
I've never heard that before. So what happens if the time runs out and you haven't gotten to 11?
You don't play to 11. You just continue to play. But if the time runs out and it's 9-all, it's 9-all. Or 18.
So when the time runs out, whoever's ahead wins the match. Oh, I
Yeah,
never
it's
heard of
quite
that.
a fascinating way to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. The funny story. So I had 8 in my team, and I said to them, "Guys, we're going to train for this." And they're like, "No, it's fine. Like time games, no problem." I said, "Okay." So I put them on court. I said, "Guys, the score's like 8-10. You've got 2 minutes left. Go." And they couldn't play. And these are pros. and so the 2 minutes was over. They just couldn't get their head around it. I said, well, "What's going on?" They're like, "I'm thinking about how much time do I have left? Do I have enough time? Do I, and I said, fair, like pressure does funny things to you when you're not used to it. So I said, that's all right. We'll drill that. And so we did. And then by the end of it, when they were on court, you could see how relaxed they are with 3 minutes on the clock. They're 8-10 down. No problem. Yeah, it
Good,
was quite,
good sign of a
I could
good
see that.
coach. Good
Yeah.
for you.
I mean, even when you're playing in a tournament and you're going to 11 versus 15, it's a whole different mental game,
Yeah, it is.
right? So yeah, with the timing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can
Imagine
kind of
adding a
picture
clock
that.
to that and like looking up and
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And there's 5 minutes left and you only got a timeout to change ends. So it was
Yeah.
7.5
wow.
minute
Oh my gosh.
sides with 1 minute in between. So you didn't have a lot of time to
Oh.
swap. Yeah.
That's wild. I have never heard that before, so I really appreciate you sharing that. So that's all the World Pickleball League, everywhere they play, that's how they do it. They
Well, that's
time
how
it.
they did it for season 1. I imagine it'll be very similar format for season 2. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very fast format because everyone's pushing, right? They want the points and they want to play it quick
Yeah.
so that they can win as many as they can. So
So
it's a good
does that speed the game up? Does that keep people from dinking in the kitchen?
yeah. You also yes, it does actually, but and then you only
Yeah.
get 10 seconds between points.
Oh
So you're
my
not
God.
allowed to like dawdle back and have a chat, and you'll get
Serve right
penalised.
away. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
So
You
you've
should
got
try
10.
that sometime, Shelley, and just see what happens,
Yeah.
having a timer and yeah,
Oh,
get ready
that's
for the
see that
World
those.
Pickleball League.
Yeah, I better get ready for that World Pickleball
Yeah.
League. Yeah.
Put the application in. Let's go.
And so now you're
I just
coaching
wait.
two
I was just
teams.
thinking. I just
Well,
need to
yeah,
find.
yeah.
I just
What?
need to find a country that doesn't know about pickleball yet.
There you go.
It's
Their first
getting harder.
pro.
Get on that base.
I don't know that there is a country
I
anymore,
know.
but
I don't
we'll
think there
look for
is.
one, Shelley.
You'll be right, mate.
Oh man.
I'll just-
So you're coaching two teams now.
I am. I'm coaching. Well, technically 3, but
Oh
yeah. Well,
gosh.
I've still got a soft spot. Melbourne Mavericks is still where I played for 3 seasons. And so I coach them in between if the others aren't on court. But essentially, the Western Vipers, a young captain called Andy Horridge, who is an up and coming little pickleball player. He's a gun. Love watching him on court. And yeah, he asked me, and I said, yes, I'd love to coach. So we've got a few players in there. And then the Sea Surge, SJ Lim and Leander Lazaro from the overseas. So they said, will you also? And that was off the back of coaching at the WPBL. Leander was in my team for the Dilly team. And then, yeah, he's like, oh, yes, we could definitely use you in the MLP. So I
Are
jumped
you
over and did that too.
are you living the dream?
I'm loving it. Yeah.
Oh
So
my
at this
God.
point, I run around and I do lots of clinics and I do coaching, and I'm happy to travel all around the world, which I do. And I don't necessarily have a base, which I'm loving at the moment as well. And that, courtesy also, I think we mentioned, like, I've got Selkirk as a sponsor, so they really do
Yeah.
support and help me. But in saying that, they've helped me even before they knew I was going to do any of this. So, which is brilliant. So I feel like it's only fair that I support them.
How did Selkirk find you in Australia?
We'll blame Jen Ramamurthy for that one. So the head of
A lot of blame going around.
I didn't have a paddle. I just borrowed whatever was going. And she put a Selkirk in my hand and I was like, I quite like the feel of this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, any other paddle I then tried, I was like, I like the feel of the Selkirk. So, and then being that they just reached out and said, look, we're happy to support you. And I wrote back and said, but I'm not, I had at that point in 2022, I'm like, I have no intention of ever coaching this. I have no intention. I'm just going to play it. Like, I have no intention of doing all of that. And then a couple of years later, here I am. So
Pro.
they supported me anyway. And so what I love about Selkirk, for me, is that they've just got a nice family vibe about them. I just love their holistic approach. Well, for me, as I said, especially. And, you know, I've had lots of other companies come and offer me more, but I like Selkirk. I think that, yeah, they showed me that they backed me even when I was no one to them. And I feel it's only fair that I now back them. So
That's very cool.
That's great.
We both love their pickleball shoes. So a little plug for Selkirk. And you showed us that they even have Crocs, which I didn't know about. So we'll have to check that out. And oh my gosh, very cool. So you have had quite a journey. I just can't get over the fact that you were such a natural at such a young age. You're coaching tennis at the age of 10 to make money to help support the coaching you're getting. And then you start this academy, and then you just kind of land into pickleball, and then you are sought after by Selkirk before anything. And then you start playing pro, and then you start coaching, and now you're coaching 3 teams. It's like, whoa, girl. So what are some of the life lessons that you can share with us? Either lessons that you learned in life that you use on the court, or lessons that came to you while you were on the court that you use in life?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me of what I watch and also through myself when I was learning is forgiveness. You know, like when you miss a shot, it's okay. Like it's understanding that everyone is learning and everyone is coming through, and it doesn't matter what level you're at, you're still learning. So it's whether that be forgiveness of your partner if they miss something, which I've never had a problem at. I like someone to blame. It's great. And just be like, you missed it. But forgiveness of yourself, I think, is the biggest thing. And I find that a lot, even in the pro level, you know, they're so upset with themselves if they miss a ball. And you're like, guys, you know, what percentage do you have to win? And they're like, I'm like, 51%. They're like, is that it? I'm like, 51% is all you need to win. You don't, and it's not about the winning of the 51%. It's about how you deal with the 49% you're not winning. That's all it's to do with, right? If you can get over your 49% of like, oh, I missed that shot, then you're going to get to 51 or more, and that's okay, but you only need 51. So I think forgiveness is one thing that's really highlighted to me. And beautiful. Yeah, I think that having a headstrong attitude, as I mentioned earlier, with this is really important, because pickleball is something that can change very quickly in terms of scores, and in terms of, like, you know, you think you've hit a winner and the ball comes back, and you think you've hit another winner and it comes back again. So it's no quick way to win a point often, you know. True. It's not like you're going to win a point on a serve and a return. That rarely happens, right? It's all to do with how you mentally stay in the game.
And both of those, forgiveness and staying in the game with your mental balance, and is for life and for pickleball, both.
It's for everything, isn't it? We're always going to have ups and downs, and it's how we ride those waves, or whether we choose to. You know, like a lot of people sometimes do ride the wave. If we can just keep level and calm and understand that we take the good with the bad and just play, even in life, you never know what can happen. So just got to hang in there.
Stay on the court.
Yeah. Stay on the court and see how you go. But pressure does funny things to people. Like when I discussed what happened with the time games, like, you know, they say to me, well, you know, I've just got to concentrate, Coco. Like, and I'm like, okay, tell me what that means to you. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, how do you concentrate? Like, we all say it. I've got to concentrate. I've got to focus. I've got to lock in. Well, that's going to mean something different for me than it does for you. Like, I'm going to have my little way of doing it, and you're going to have your little way of doing it. Telling yourself to focus and not miss the ball is not helpful. It just adds pressure. So And
Yeah.
especially the younger generation, they're not coping with pressure. So if you add more pressure by saying, well, don't miss it, that's not helpful. So breathe, just try and exhale as you hit the ball. It's very difficult to be tense while you're exhaling. Not impossible, but close to it. So focus on something different that doesn't entail you pressuring yourself to do better. Yeah.
Love it. So do you do clinics all over the world? I mean, can people hire you to
Yes.
coach?
I'm happy to come over to US. Does someone want to just pay me and I'll just pop over there?
Would love that. Would love that.
Yes. So I'm off to the UK end of July. I'm going to do some clinics with Sam Basford, one of the awesome coaches there in England, and we're going to do some clinics. We're going to play the English Open together. So we're going to do that. I go to New Zealand quite a bit, open to becoming. I spoke to Rob Cassidy and Michelle Esquivel, and I'll probably try and come to the US at some point and do some clinics there as well. And with Wes, if you can ever nail that man down, he's everywhere. So
he is everywhere.
But yes, I do clinics all around. So,
and how can people find you to follow you and reach out to you?
On socials, it's just Coco Lococo 002 on either Facebook or Insta. So,
not too many Coco Lococo, so can probably find you just with your name.
I love that.
Well, we're in Seattle, and we can't wait to meet you in person. Maybe we'll come to Australia. That would be pretty awesome too, right?
Yeah. It is a great place. Have you guys been here?
I have. I loved it.
Yeah. Where did you go? Where did you go?
I was just in Sydney, en route to New Zealand, but then decided, okay, I'm coming back there sometime to spend lots of time because it was just. I had the same feeling of the hospitality, like we were talking about in India, just really lovely, lovely people and beautiful, beautiful place.
Australia's we have very we're all mates. I know even in the US, you have big weekend pickleball clinics, and they try and start that here. But the problem is that they all want to go to the pub at the end of 4 hours. They don't want to do 8 hours. They're like, no. We need a break. So you're like, all right, guys, off you go. Or they want to go on the beach or something. So we're a little bit, the work ethic slightly different in Australia.
Yeah. I was on a tour once in Vietnam, and the Aussies all were cracking their beers at 8:00 in the morning.
Great representation.
Listen up to the court.
I probably played better. Yeah, it's a very different lifestyle in Australia. We're not as intent, but when we compete, we compete.
Oh yeah.
But if it's
it's good balance.
Weekend, it's 8 a.m. drinks.
Heck yeah, life balance,
Yeah.
Oh, Coco, thank you. This has really been fun to chat with you and can't wait to see you stateside, and we'll be following you online in your tournaments, and congratulations with all your coaching and just being sought after. It's like you don't even need to do anything. You just be you and people find you. I love that.
Yeah, I think if we're just nice to everyone, everyone gets along, as I said. So everyone's mates off court and on court, and when we're there we compete, but when we're off court, we're all good mates. So that's what it's about.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody. Oh my gosh, Australia! Let's all go to Australia and get some coaching from Coco Lococo.
Yeah. Have lots of fun, and then we'll send you down to the surf. You can learn how to surf.
I love that idea. Never even tried. I'm going to try it there in Australia. That's very
cool.
Well, thank you. And thank you all. And be sure to share this episode with people. Come on, you can bring Coco over and get private lessons. And thank you for those of you who are brand new. Thank you so much for tuning in, and consider subscribing. It really helps us, and we just love having you here. Thank you so much, and we look forward to another conversation next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. If you love our podcast, we'd be so grateful if you'd take a few seconds to follow or subscribe to Life Lessons from Pickleball. This ensures you'll never miss an episode and helps us continue these wonderful conversations.
On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, go to the show page and tap the follow button in the top right corner. And on YouTube, click the subscribe button under any of the episodes.
Thanks so much. Hope to see you on the court.